here to give some operations perspective, how we saw these projects and how it went for us and our involvement in it. So the first thing, operational design input. This picture here is at the Harry Tracy plant, the treated water reservoir. Very big project. This whole WISA project was designed around these, Dan got into it at the level of service goals, supplying a certain amount of water, X amount of hours and days after a major seismic event. Easy enough, sounds good. For operations, we had a lot of things that we wanted incorporated in these projects, and it wasn't just a blank check. It had to meet the level of service goals. Sometimes we got what we wanted, and other times the answer was no, it didn't meet the level of service goals. So it wasn't a blank check, and there was a lot of input from operations. One thing that helped out tremendously was we invested a lot of money in bringing some of our senior operators into higher level liaison positions. And that, I think the point here is that, the water didn't stop flowing because of the project. We had to stay in operation all throughout this. And, we have a full plate. We didn't have time to just, make ourselves available to these projects. So having liaisons was really key, and having senior staff was especially key. A lot of the senior staff were very instrumental in a lot of the design. Every month we would meet with the PMs and operational reps and go through the schedule for the month. A huge commitment. We had a room full of maybe as many as 30 people, all high-level project managers, operators. So that's quite an expense, and but that's what it took to get the coordination effort going. But what really made it happen for me in particular was, we created a wall chart, and every week I would come in, and still to this day it's still on my wall. I check it and see what's going on for that week, for the month, and where we're at, where we're going. It sounds simple and obvious, but sometimes I think that was a takeaway for me, is sometimes it's the simple and obvious things that really make it work. We had major facilities shut down for periods of time, and we supply 2.6 million customers with water. We can't just fail. We're not allowed to fail. So a huge part of my job was to create contingency plans. How are we going to well, actually, here it is. We have the three main sources. We have Hetch Hetchy, Harry Tracy plant, and Sunol plant. And if you have one of those facilities out, the way we would plan contingencies is, well, what if another one fails? Then you only have one source. So, that's a tough one, especially when you talk about Hetch Hetchy providing 85% of our water. What do we do if we lose Hetch Hetchy with the Harry Tracy plant down? And some of our friends here from Santa Clara and East Bay Mud will know that we were on the phone quite a bit, talking about using the interties and other capabilities to try to, meet that contingency. A little bit on major shutdowns. This picture here is at the Tesla treatment facility outside Tracy, and those are the three San Joaquin lines. You can see they're completely severed. So that was the 2010 Coast Range tunnel shutdown. We had Hetch Hetchy, again, 85% of our supply completely severed from the Bay Area. So that was a huge shutdown for us. We had the Harry Tracy and Sunol plants supplying the Bay Area. 2011 Crystal Springs bypass tunnel shutdown. That was probably our most critical shutdown. It severed the Crystal Springs bypass pipeline. The significance of that is that the Harry Tracy plant had to provide all the peninsula and San Francisco without any backup. We didn't have any, there's no intertie up there. So that was a very challenging shutdown. I remember that specifically. A lot of you guys do pipeline installations and such, and if you hear it from the contractor, it's going to take weeks, it's going to take months, I can't do it. They did 3 96-inch welds in 13 hours to get that pipe back in service. So just remember that, 3 96-inch welds in 13 hours. The Bay Tunnel commissioning, that was a huge effort on our part. An additional consideration was we didn't want to waste water during the drought. So when we disinfected that, instead of discharging that, dechloring it and discharging it to the environment, we ended up pushing that through our system all the way to Crystal Springs Reservoir. So that was quite an effort. And then I also bring up the Harry Tracy water treatment plant. That facility, I'm still shocked that we were actually able to stay online during the whole WISA project. we had literally back-to-back shutdowns there, and they literally, it's a big treatment plant. They tore out the basins and put bypass pipes around it. Just really a miracle that we were able to stay online throughout that period. And so, anyways, there's just ongoing staff involvement, design reviews, weekly operations plan. Keeping my staff appraised of what's happening during the week. That was a big challenge, especially with so many different projects and different facilities. Operational support, SOR, system outage requests, lockout tagouts, all that stuff. Just a major effort to keep that straight, keep working with the project team, turning projects over to the PMs. Again, a big issue coming out, when these projects end, everybody wants to leave. As operations, we're like, not so fast. Lock the gates. Nobody leaves till it works and we get all the deliverables. And then just post-WIS. Now we have all these new facilities. Now my job and a lot of my staff, our task is to figure out, what do we do with them? There's a lot of, something that's kind of interesting is, all these projects were built for level of service goals. But the reality is that they give us a lot of different capabilities that we never had before. And, so there's this big learning process, getting procedures in place, figuring out exactly how we're going to, operate these things in the future. It's a challenge, and it's a fun challenge. You're here in the Sunol Valley. This is a great place, actually, to come for a tour. So much of what we do in the San Francisco Water Department comes through the Sunol Valley. This is like ground zero for us. There's just a lot going on here, a lot of history, you're going to see this today, a lot of the big projects are done here. So this is really a great place for a tour.